and welcome to Bar Room Radio. I'm here, Alex, live here at the Bar Room Radio. Don't have the drunks with me today, but here at Bar Room, figured I'd make my first episode of Bar Room Radio, sponsored by NCPW Live, formerly with TPW, High Def, and on Spotify, Stitcher Radio, Google Podcast, wherever you want it to be. Bar Room is there. So let's kick off here. So let's talk about Mayhem last night. It was a good show. I'm not gonna say it's the best. It was not. It was had its moments. Um, the show must go on. Is how I looked at it. So kind of starting off, kicking off the show, Brad Richards kicks off Mayhem. What a cool moment it was. See Brad, a showdown guy from the beginning, comes over, checks us out over on Mayhem. So this was kind of a cool moment um, to sit back, reflect, look at all the details, and it was really inspirational to me to look at what they were doing, what kind of how they were lining it up. Brad comes out, you know, Brad doing his thing. Drake Jackson kind of follows up, and we didn't see a whole lot of Drake Jackson last night. We didn't see matches. We saw maybe one promo, but we'll get into that later. Comes out, he brings out the title. Now, a lot of people are calling it the Global World. The NCPW title is the NCPW Global Championship. That's all it is. I wanted to make sure that it was set and said as it's a world championship, not a what do they call it? I don't want to put heavyweight in there because it's not going to be a heavyweight title. Anybody can win that title. So I didn't want to put a preference on it. So that came out, and then Dalton busts through the ring, comes out, says Brad knows that he's fighting Dalton at Blast from the Past. So they kind of set that in their way and canceled that out to make that happen there. Um, so it was a good promo overall. Good thing it didn't run extra long. Brad is totally moving up, I believe, in his career to be a main event guy. Then we move on to Hunter Jones versus Jackson Jr. Um, it was a very good match. Hunter Jones putting on a great performance. I'm so glad that I got a piece of him to draft him in the later rounds. He was so worth it. Did a really nice job. Christian Jackson Jr. Did a fantastic job, by the way. He's really elevating his game. I do see him as a future mid carder in the future. I would give this match probably a 3.5 stars out of 5. We move on to Jacob Williams versus Mark Stone. Um, as being real here on Barroom Radio, I'm not gonna lie with you. I did have a moment of freaking out, and on the Showdown Superstars for watching. That was a mistake. Mistakes were made. I just felt like I couldn't get anything going. I wanted the show to go on. I didn't want to push the envelope of having the show not be very good for superstars. So my apologies to the Showdown Superstars. I make that apology. I am sorry. Um, I'm sorry for flipping out on you guys. You guys didn't deserve that, and I think we can move on from that. But going back into it, Jacob Williams defeating Mark Stone. It was a pretty decent match all the way through. Uh, you know, I think Jacob Williams really showed off his charismaticness, but on TPW TV, he even on TPW, he fought for a contract. So Jacob Williams always fights. Then we move into the Sebastian Jess promo. Jess comes out, does this big spiel about he wants the next opponent, and I agree with that. I think Jess was really looking for a fight, and then all of a sudden the demonic mute voice came out, lights went off, and boom, there was Drake Jackson sitting in the ring with him on the ropes. So I thought that was pretty cool. Drake Jackson, stood there and looked at him, and then started beating him down, basically pulverizing him. Threw him in the corner. Did do some really cool moves in there. He did a skateboard flip onto a flaming table with Sebastian Jess. Put the burn ashes in his eyes. It was really bad. Um, it was really, 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 really bad. Oh, and before I get back to it, Jacob Williams, Mark Stone, I would say four stars. But going back to the promo, um, then it was chairs. He got hit with a couple chairs. It wasn't too bad. And then Drake then pulled out the razor and shaved the head of Sebastian Jess and the mustache. Um, the other part that really got me is when he used the stapler and put it on the top of his head and started stapling cards of Drake Jackson's to the top of his head, and then on top of it the lip. he stapled his lip um, on one of those, which was pretty deadly. And then Drake filled his mouth full of thumbtacks and super kicked him and left him there for dead. So at Blast from the Past, it was already confirmed Drake Jackson versus Sebastian Jess inside of a cell, just so no men could escape and cause any more mayhem. Because when they get inside the cage, there's no way out. So moving on here, we had Daniel Storm come out and do a very very good promo. Definitely, when I talked to him before the show, he definitely needed that extra encouragement, and I think I was able to elevate his skill level to get him there. So that was really good for Daniel Storm. I really appreciate what he was doing overall. Um, Brad Richards did not get to fight the local jobber on the show. He was really really interesting to watch from that perspective. Um, so check this out. Brad Richards comes out, does a promo beforehand, gets to the apron, hits his music, starts walking out, and Dalton from behind hits him and starts beating him down mercilessly, just telling him, "You're not going to beat me." Da da da. And then Mimsy, out of all people, was the local jobber. They threw Dalton threw him in the ring. Mimsy jumped on him, and then Dalton jumped on Brad. 1, 2, 3. Mimsy picks up the win. It was overall I couldn't believe what I saw. And then Brad was pissed off, started throwing chairs, and said there would be hell to pay next week. And then moving on to our main event for the Grand Championship, Prince Bubblegum versus Randall Young. It was something interesting to watch. It was it was a little bit mind blowing. The ending, we didn't really get to end it the way we wanted it to. The connection would not keep up between the two. I think that people were getting a little rattled. The show did end at 10:45 p.m. that night, so I think people were ready to go, and the parties were disconnecting and this and that. So after that, I think Randall assigned himself as the world champion, but no report was ever made that he had won the world championship. But we did go back to it, and at Blast from the Past, Randall Young versus Prince Bubblegum for the Grand Championship will be in play um, moving forward. Now we got to talk about Blast from the Past. So we look at the Blast from the Past pay-per-view card, and we already see it now. Brad Richards versus Dalton for the global title. And I think Dalton is super cool. He's one of my favorite stars that I ever got to work with. He was incredible in the mark, and I'm excited to see what they have to offer. The, it's it's a different feeling than it is when you're fighting for this. But then Dalton is going to be an incredible match. We got the Grand Championship, which is supposed to be a really good match too. Being that being able to look at the history and the people who have fought for that title, and I think it's really fun to watch. Being that you watch that title come up, you watch the people that held it, and if Randall Young wins, that'll be his fifth world title. Fifth Grand Championship belt. And Randall has been the king of the Grand Championship. Let's just look over some of the uh, moments here. Let me pull up our archives real quick here. So if you look at the Grand Championship, the title history is profound, starting at Frankie Young at Revolution 1 at 15 days. But if you go all the way down, people like Daniel Storm, Keith Klein, and then Randall Young's first title reign started November 16th of 2017, and it ended January 3rd. So he passed WrestlePalooza. He had it for 48 days. Um, people like JJ Striker has held that belt. Brian Styles has held the belt at one time. If you look down here a little bit more, Randall Young in May 6th of 2018 to August 29th, 115 days. It was a really, really long reign. And then Randall would lose to Ray Parker, but Ray Parker would only hold it for 4 days. Randall Young would take it again September 2nd of 2018 to October 24th, 52 more days for that reign. So Randall Young has had it, and then he would win it again and hold it for a couple more days. But it wasn't like his reigns were, he's had a bunch of reigns. He you know what you're getting with him, and he's really an all-out great superstar. But Randall's also had a main title win. He's held the main belt before. So if you look at his main championship history, he has the time to prove it. He's been main event champion for 98 days at WrestlePalooza 2, so almost over a year ago. he was champion. Held the belt from December 19th of 2018 to March 27th of 2019. So over almost a year ago to the day, um, he held that belt and finished off his reign. But Brad Richards holding the belt, I think what I want to see hopefully in the future is a little bit more. But from Blast from the Past standpoint, there's some really good matches on that card. And I think there will be more matches as we go along here. I think the roster is like I think it's a great roster. I think one of the best I've ever had overall. And I want to say the reason I made the pay-per-view Blast from the Past is so we could have a bunch of former superstars come on and do a pay-per-view. I really like former superstars coming on and talking and doing their spiels about what the past. And I think um, when I drafted certain people, there was for a reason. I'll tell you somebody I really wanted that I didn't get. There was a couple. I actually really wanted to work with Deep. Deep is one of my favorite stars. I've seen him work. I think he'd be super cool. Kyler Dillon. I wanted to work with Kyler. I thought it was super cool. I wanted to work with Kyler. Dave Ball, he's okay. I really wanted to work with him, but they drafted him so early. But NCPW Demon, they drafted him super early. I thought he would be in the later rounds, but I guess he wasn't. So and it is what it is. So there was a few people I really wanted to work with, but I think I got everybody I really wanted. I really wanted to work with Hunter Jones. I really wanted to work with Sebastian Just, Randall Young, Dalton. So I finally got those guys. Did not want to work with Mr. Chuckles. That's why we got Prince Bubblegum. But he's also got the briefcase. He has got the briefcase. So he's able to really rule this tag team division. I'm sorry, this world title division if he gets the win off. That's the question. Can he get the win off? And it goes back to what are we going to do? And I think a lot of it was capitalization. And I listened to the NCPW Live podcast and not our barroom radio, but I was just listening to some of the things that they felt were controversial. Unbiased opinions, and here's my unbiased opinion. The global title was made for us. It's not the global world, it's the global title. So that's one of our titles. And then we have another title, our grand championship. And I think the tag team division is going to heat up here on Mayhem next week, for sure. But moving forward, last night again, we already talked about the apology, and moving forward from that point on. And I think you got to look at another one here. People are saying are Sebastian Just. I think Sebastian Just has a chip on his shoulder. No more than that. He's made it clear. I've made it clear to him that the behavior that he has is unacceptable, and it can't be accepted the way it is. But that's for another time. Again, I think he already knows, and I think he's a great star on Mayhem, and I've always wanted to continue to work with him. And I think he's got a bright future here, as does everybody else. But here's another thing. I think in my mind that Mega and me are eventually going to get along really well, working together. It's just super busy between both of us, so we aren't able to discuss both shows between the both of us just because we're so busy running both shows, doing our own things. So I hope that we can eventually get to that level again to where we can share it more. Because I don't really know all the showdown results. That's why we have the website on ncpwlive.com to check out all news and information for NCPW. But I'm about to sign off here at Barroom Radio. I just want to make a little 15-minute podcast/radio session of exactly what happened on Mayhem. I hope everybody else had a good time last night. I did. I thoroughly enjoyed the show. I can't wait to see you guys next week. Thank you for your time. And thanks, guys. I hope you have a great night. And if you're listening in the morning, I guess have a good day.